Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel, Calm with Carlin. One of the most common questions I get as a yoga teacher is simply how to start yoga. So this is a great beginner flow. It'll only take a couple minutes. Very basic yoga poses that can start you off on your yoga journey. You can obviously take this class if you're a seasoned yogi as well, but this will just bring you back to basics. It's a really simple flow that you can do to just wind down and start to connect to your yoga practice. You don't need any props, so maybe today's the day that you finally decide to lay your mat out and get started with your yoga practice. I'll see you there. Let's begin in child's pose, and I'll give you two options for that. So the first option is to have your knees together. Sit your heels towards your feet. Take your arms long behind you, palms facing up, and bring your forehead down. Second option is to bring the knees out wide to the sides of the mat. Big toes come to touch. Send your seat back towards your heels as you walk your hands out long in front of you. This is the option I'm going to take because it provides a little bit more shoulder opening along with some opening in the hips. Let's take five deep breaths here. After you've taken your fifth breath, we'll slowly start to make our way to a tabletop position. But in this tabletop position, try and keep your knees out wide. So if you took that first variation of child's pose with your knees together, bring your knees out wide. Big toes can come to touch or they can come slightly apart. Just want a little bit of a wider base here for some twists. So take your right hand on top of your right head, on top of your head, the only one you have. And then we're going to take some thoracic openings here. So take an inhale. Right elbow comes up to the sky, look to your right. Range of motion doesn't have to be big here. And then exhale, tap your right elbow to the inside of your left elbow. Let's do that two more times. Inhale, open up, breathe here. Exhale, tap elbow to elbow. One more time, inhale, open up. This time, as you're open here, reach your right fingertips up to the sky. This might feel like a lot. And then gently thread your right hand underneath your left. Come down to your right shoulder, your right ear. And you're in your thread the needle, feeling an opening in your right shoulder. You can also choose to walk your left fingertips forward. That will create some stretch in your left shoulder as well. And see if you can think about pulling your left hip back and your right hip forward, and notice that that intensified the stretch in your right shoulder just a little bit. Let's take 3 breaths here. Slowly start to walk your left hand back underneath your shoulder. If you brought it somewhere else, press into your left shoulder. Reach your right fingertips up to the sky one more time. And then we'll take it to the other side. So your right hand comes down. Your left hand comes behind your head. Find that triangle shape in the elbow. And then inhale to open up. It doesn't have to be big. Exhale, tap your left elbow to the inside of your right elbow. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, close it slow. One more time, inhale to lift. This time, left fingertips reach up to the sky. I know that feels like a lot. Keep breathing. And then exhale as you thread the left hand underneath the right. Come down to your left elbow. And then again, you have the option to walk the right fingertips forward. Maybe that feels good for the right shoulder. If it doesn't, don't do it. Yoga is all about doing what feels good. Discomfort is okay. We can breathe through that. But pain is never okay. So always come out of anything that feels painful. See if you can pull your right hip back, left hip forward. Ooh, notice how that changes the stretch in your left shoulder. Take 2 more breaths here. And then slowly start to walk your right hand underneath your right shoulder. If it traveled elsewhere, press into the right palm, reach the left fingertips up to the sky, and then take it back to a tabletop position. So your wrists will be underneath your shoulders. Adjust your knees so they're parallel to one another and right underneath the hips. We're going to take a couple rounds of cat-cow here. So on the inhale, you'll drop your belly, you'll lift your gaze, you'll think about pressing your chest through your biceps. And then on the exhale, you'll tuck your chin, round your spine. Think about tucking the chin to the chest and pressing the ground away from you. Flow with your breath, long inhale here as you drop the belly and lift the gaze. Super slow exhale as you find your cat pose, really exaggerating the rainbow shape that you're creating in the back body. Such good, juicy movement for the spine here in all directions. Couple more rounds. Doesn't matter if you're moving a little bit faster or a little bit slower than me. Movement here, maybe some hip circles, maybe some sways side to side. Whatever feels good. After you finish your next round, gently make your way back to a tabletop position. Walk your hands forward, spread your fingertips nice and wide, and then tuck your toes and lift your hips up to the sky. So you're in your first downward facing dog, and you're taking up a lot of space on your mat. And if you look at my downward facing dog, just keep in mind that I've been doing yoga for about 8 years now. So think about what your downward facing dog feels like rather than what it looks like. So some things to think about. Your feet are about hips width distance apart. Your fingers are spread nice and wide and your hips, especially the thumbs and the index fingers. The shoulders are relaxed down the back. Your chest is melting towards your thighs. Your tailbone is reaching up towards the sky like I'm pulling it by a string. And your heels are reaching down towards the ground, but by no means does that mean they have to touch the ground. They might not even be close, and that's okay. Just a fancy upside down V shape. Now that I've asked you to think about all of those things, see if you can let go and just breathe into the sensation here. You might feel some length in the back body. Maybe you choose to find a little bit of movement, bending one knee as you straighten the opposite leg. You can call this walking the dog, bending the other knee, straightening the opposite leg. And then as you're ready, bend both of the knees, come down to the knees. Maybe you walk them slightly behind the hips and then lower down to the belly here, like a mini push-up. You can let the toes drop down to the ground. Bring your forehead to the ground as well. And on the inhale, press into the tops of the feet, press into the palms as you lift up. Again, it doesn't have to be big. Relax the shoulders. And then exhale, lower down. We'll do that twice more. Inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. One more time, inhale, lift up. Exhale, lower down. And then slowly make your way back to a tabletop position. And then find your child's pose once more. Couple breaths here. Just a little bit of movement, but notice how it felt in the body. As you're ready, slowly start to come onto all fours once again, and we'll make our way on to our backs. We got one more little pose here before we take it to our Shavasana. So on your back, Bring your knees in towards your armpits. Grab on to the inside or the outside edges of the feet. If that's not accessible, feel free to grab the shins or the ankles. Whatever you're grabbing onto, kind of tug on it just a little bit so that your knees are pressing in towards the armpits. Opening your hips here for a happy baby. Maybe you find some rock side to side. You might straighten through one leg or the other. Maybe you just stay in stillness here. Just one last little opening for the hips before we wrap things up. And then once you're finished with this happy baby, you're ready for some stillness. Just take your time. Maybe you give yourself a little hug. And then you take your legs and your arms out long, finding your Shavasana. Now, sometimes Shavasana can be the hardest part for people because it's hard for some of us, i.e. me, to sit still and do nothing. But that's what Shavasana was made for, and don't worry, it won't keep you here too long. So see if you can take just a minute to just let go. You don't even need to pay attention to the breath anymore. Just let it be natural again. Just take a moment just to be here, melting into the mat, supported by the ground beneath you. And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Notice if you have any tension in the face or the jaw. See if you can soften a little bit and just let that go. Sometimes I even find that I'm holding tension in like my eyelids, really squeezing my eyes shut. See if you can soften there as well. And of course, if you want to stay in Shavasana longer, be my guest. Otherwise, start to invite some deeper breaths back into the body. Maybe you wiggle through the fingers and the toes. Roll out the wrists and the ankles, gradually making your movements bigger. And then eventually just roll onto your right or your left side, finding a moment in the fetal position. Always use this moment as an opportunity for gratitude, for my practice, for the ability to move my body, the ability to breathe. And then gently come all the way up to a seated position. We'll take one more closing breath together. Bring your hands to heart center. Take a deep breath in through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. And that's your practice for today. It never has to be anything fancy or complicated in order to get it done, in order to just feel a little bit better in your body. Please subscribe to my channel. Let me know if you'd like to see more beginner-friendly videos. I'm happy to make them. Comment below, like this video. Follow me on Instagram at Calm with Carlin, and I'll see you next time.